Hello and welcome to a momentous occasion. It's the 250th episode of Film Seizure. I am Jeff Arbuckle. With me as always are my co-host, Jason Oliver. Jason, this is your 250th as well.
It is. I'm excited to talk about the fourth kind.
I'm not.
With Mila Jovovich.
How about...
And Will Patton.
How about instead... we talk about Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, I watched the wrong movie.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Chuck Moore, you come here to save me, right?
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
good.
I'm taking you on my ship with me away from Jason.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Elias Koteas is not in the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He's in the fourth kind, though.
We're really going with this.
We're really, man, this is already a Chun-Li.
Already off the rails.
Yeah, this is already a Chun-Li situation.
Yeah.
No. We're watching
a great movie.
We're watching a great movie. This is kind of an old-timer, and I didn't really remember how good this movie is. I don't think I ever really actually appreciated how good this movie is until in the year of our Lord 2023. Yeah.
Chuck,
Yes.
we were with it.
Yeah, I mean, this has been... I don't know how many times I've said this on the show, but this was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid.
Well, it played all the time on TV.
Yeah, and it was terrifying, but also uplifting. And watching it now, I'm kind of surprised because there's a lot of... I don't want to call it dead air, but like there's moments in this movie that as a kid, I'm surprised I sat through.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, that's kind of why this movie never stuck with me as a kid. Is first of all, I never saw it on a big screen. I always saw it on, shitty, cathode tube TV, right? And probably edited for television,
yeah,
right? With commercial breaks. I don't think I've ever legitimately sat down and watched this movie front to end. And then seeing it, on a big screen, 4K TV with good sound. I mean,
it looks and sounds amazing.
I was completely fucking engrossed.
Yeah.
Like completely into this movie from start to finish. Like just absolutely in rapture of it.
I do want to make one comment though. After what I said about being surprised I sat through it as a kid, I was a little bit younger than my children. But
Sure.
they're 16 and 13 and they were into it.
Great. That's awesome.
The whole time. Yeah.
I mean, because this movie...
16 and 14 actually, sorry.
Well, yeah. But like... Jason, you said that, it's like how much this feels lived in, and it makes it feel kind of timeless.
Absolutely.
I mean, there is some 70s business going on, but not obviously and not like distractingly.
No. Like the technology has obviously improved in some areas, but it's stuff like power plants and air traffic control centers. It's like shit that you don't really see anyway, right?
Right.
So it
might still look like that.
It might still look like that. It might probably, they're probably running on like fucking analog shit anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it does. Like there's a working man feel to this movie. Everything feels authentic.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, other than Muncie, Indiana, that's not authentic.
No, it looks more like Alabama. Yeah, and that neighborhood gave me...
wow, that's a Lover's Lane, Peak, and Muncie, really?
Right, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't... is there a Crystal Lake in Muncie? And if there is, stay away from it.
Let's go there.
Let's not go
Jason
there.
to Jason.
Yeah, I mean... yes, I mean... correct. It is meant to look and feel like something that we know very well. It is not, but it's kind of cool that a pretty big movie is like Indiana based for most of it.
My kids were speculating on why they chose Indiana and why a lot of these kind of stories seem to choose Indiana. Is it because nobody knows anything about Indiana or nothing is supposed to happen here? Like, what is the reason?
I think it's supposed to be nothing is supposed to happen here.
Yeah,
I think it's because the
Crossroads
characters...
of America, it's middle of the Midwest. It's relatable.
Yeah.
Without like...
Well, there's a lot of blue collar people.
Yeah.
And again, we got that kind of blue collar feel.
Right.
There's only one scene in which the people are actually treated like actual bumpkins who are not genuinely curious and genuinely wanting answers for what's going on. And that's the scene with the Air Force guy where our favorite old man really doesn't help their case.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
I saw Bigfoot once. So good. That's fucking Old Man Marley. I've been trying to like hammer that down your faces. I don't think you realize who that is. That's the guy with the shovel in Home Alone.
Oh,
It's Old Man Marley.
I didn't really watch Home Alone ever.
Never?
500th episode.
Well,
We're doing
anyway.
it.
Oh
It's-
God damn it!
That's Old Man Marley.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I saw you say that, and I did not make the connection. Okay.
Well, now connection has been made.
Connection's been made.
Yeah.
That's Old Man Marley.
Would you say his contact has been made?
Yeah.
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 Huh?
Yeah.
We made a connection of the third
What is his,
kind.
what does his sign say that he's holding?
Stop and be nice.
Stop and be nice.
nice.
He also
Which is so nice.
Yeah.
It's just like adorable.
he also has the best line of the movie that made me laugh so freaking hard.
And it's not the I saw Bigfoot once.
No, it's not. They can fly rings around the moon, but we're years ahead of them on the highway.
That's good.
Anyway, so so this is a movie. So there's a specific reason why I wanted to do this movie for a while now, and part of it is, Chuck, like you were saying, it's like this was on a lot as a kid. I mean, this was one of those, Monday night CBS movie or of the week or whatever,
Right.
one of those types of movies that just played like clockwork once or twice a year, every year. But then, it was one that about, 4.5, 5 years ago or so, I think I happened to see it like, on Epix Drive-In when I still had Sling and, had like cable channels through that. Yeah. And they played it. And I probably came in right in the scene where they're in India and they're recording the sound that the people heard.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm going all the way through to the end. And like, I kind of saw it as an adult really for the first time. Not that it was new to me at all. I mean, I saw it probably when it got released for like the 20th anniversary on like a special edition VHS or whatever. Because I remember that was a really cool buy. It was like silvery and like, anyway.
Well, that was probably when you saw it on Epix or whatever. That was probably when it was remastered for its 40th.
Probably, yeah. That's probably what they got. Yeah. And so, and it was just one of those things. And it's like, it was while I was watching that where I was like, it's like, I want to, and I was like looking at the Wikipedia page, and that's when I found out it's like, wait, the whole hand movement to like, about like teaching music to people who can't hear it, it started to blow my mind a little bit. It's like, this is freaking scientific.
Yeah.
And then it got me thinking about, it's like how we're not going to be communicating with them in any kind of language. It's going to be something that we don't typically consider language, music, hand signals, math, that sort of stuff. And then you start to realize, like, how did kids watch this movie? Because this is pretty heady stuff.
Yeah. But they watched it because it's easy to just follow Dick Dreyfuss.
Yeah, exactly.
He's everybody's avenue way into this movie.
And
all
mashed
this
potatoes.
other stuff is... Yeah.
And mashed potatoes. We all like mashed potatoes.
This is important.
Yeah.
This means
This
something.
means something.
That's the kind of stuff that stuck with me, like the shaving cream to the face, the mashed potatoes,
The sunburn.
the sunburn. How great! Like, it's astonishing. Did they upgrade the way the highway runners looked?
Nope.
They didn't upgrade. They just.
I don't think so.
It looks.
I think it's just remastered.
Amazing.
What do you mean?
The
Just the
little
little spaceships.
sentinels that
Oh, no.
were
Yeah.
flying around.
No,
yeah.
that's all Dick Trumbull.
That's insane.
Yeah.
How
Dick
good
Trumbull.
that looks. How good the lights look.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
It is amazing.
And the movie does start.
It's all model work too.
Yeah.
They shot all that shit in 70 millimeter because they knew when they did the composite on it that when they brought it back down to 30 or 35, that they would lose a generation of resolution loss.
Oh, interesting.
So
cool.
so they shot at a higher frame rate so that when they brought it back it matched. Yeah, 35 millimeter.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Smart people.
Yeah.
Very. That's Dick Trumbull for you.
Yeah. And, there is something about the end when we see all those different ships fly around that I do want to talk about when we get to that part. But no, I mean, like, this movie begins kind of spooky. It's very much a little bit 2001.
Or like Poltergeist almost. in a lot of scenes.
100% 2001. Like, it is on that level of sci-fi.
It's using that deep music, sustained note,
Yeah.
and then thrust you into something, and it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like what we're going to see here.
And then, yes, it has the horror of Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Like, the abduction scene is 100% like what's going to happen a few years later in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, I like that this movie throws you right into, all of a sudden, these people you don't really know, but you understand why they're there, because a fleet of World War II American fighters just appeared in Mexico.
Yeah.
They're fueled as if they're ready to take off. They're brand new practically.
Yeah.
They're just there. And I like that Francois Truffaut is like, fuck you, speak French. Yeah, it's like, or Bob Balaban's gonna have to talk to me.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting choice to have that character, because you could very easily just cast someone who, speaks, fluent English well, who is, English his first language, and just bypass that whole thing. But by making it that character, I think it drives home the language disconnect we are going to have.
Language is a barrier,
right?
100%.
And that it's really complicated, but at the same time, they make it really easy.
Yeah,
because you have, especially the very first scene where it's Spanish, right? They've got a Spanish interpreter who's translating Spanish for Bob Balaban into English,
right?
And then Bob Balaban is translating English into French, and it's seamless.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's easy.
Did you just call him Bal Bababan?
Bab Bababan.
Just bam, 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 bam. Hey, Black Betty, bam, bam, bam.
Bob Bababan.
You want to say these words? Bob Balaban. You want to turn them into French? Bob Balaban.
Bob Bababan.
Bob Balaban.
All right, everything's getting lost in translation here now. All these different songs are getting thrown at me here. Yeah, but no, you're right. This is, and there is one thing.
You keep me rocking and a rolling, rocking and a rolling.
Sorry,
Jeff. I had to get that one out.
No, one thing I like about this is that this is an extremely human movie.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that while no one character really possesses more than one human trait, or at least one character is not an avatar for more than one human trait, but it is kind of striated out to where you have Melinda Dillon, who, by the way, we were recording this the day after she passed away.
Yeah.
Why?
So yeah. So, but she kind of possesses the heart, and the dedication to offspring, and is kind of the heart of the movie. Richard Dreyfuss is kind of the dreamer, the wanting to kind of figure out his place in
Wandering soul, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got Truffaut, who is the intellect.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I would say Terry Garr is kind of the societal oppression that is put on people.
So you telling me they remade Wizard of Oz?
And you were there?
It kind of sounds
you were there?
like, right? We had,
well, kind of, yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, yeah, sort of. But I mean, it is certainly drawing heavily from Peter Pan, or not Peter Pan, from Pinocchio, where, I mean, like, When You Wish Upon a Star is the heavy motif of this. It's wishing to be something more than you are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot going on there with the Richard Dreyfuss not doing so great emotionally and how that's treated.
What are you talking about? He's fine. He's perfectly fine.
he's perfectly fine.
I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, all that kind of makes sense too, because how could Terry Garr understand what he's going through? She doesn't even believe that he saw what he saw. And
Right.
there's no way for her to understand that something has been implanted in his mind. Quite
Right.
literally.
But there is no seeming, like, attempt to get him help. It's almost like you're supposed to have a job, because she even says, like, I ain't getting a job.
Yeah.
Right.
You're supposed to have a job. You're supposed to be the man of the, and stop with your fucking train set. Stop with your music box. Stop with letting the kids stay up all night. You're supposed to be a grown up. And it kind of squashes a lot of his natural curiosity and natural.
What's funny about all that too is that the first time you see him before the power goes out, this is what their life was like anyways.
Right.
Their kids were up late.
Yeah.
He was watching TV, playing with this stuff. So,
but he doesn't really seem like it seems like this is not the life he wants to live, though, also, because he's not really being a dad. He's not really like.
he's kind of a friend.
Exactly. He's not, he's an uncle. He's not a father. Stay up late, watch this, what was it, the 10 Commandments or something?
Yeah.
It was like
It's a
4 hours.
4-hour movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's like, just, he doesn't even recognize that she even says that, because then the phone rings and he's even still too busy.
I think their relationship is awfully strained to begin with.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, probably. But a lot of it, I
Absolutely
think,
is.
has to do with the fact that Richard Dreyfuss is not doing what he wants in life.
Well, as long as he had a job, he was fine. I think that's what, like, when he was working and providing, she was happy to deal with whatever.
sure.
Once that stops,
Right.
she starts taking, and none of that, what I like about this movie is none of that has to be said.
No.
Right?
No.
You could speculate on it all you want.
Right.
But you understand that the relationship is falling apart. You understand that enough time has passed that the kids are fucking crying when daddy's playing with their mashed potatoes. Like, that is kind of powerful stuff. Like, to us, it's funny. It's comical. He's playing with his mashed potatoes and his 12-year-old kid is sitting there crying.
Right.
It's quite a moment.
Yeah, sorry to skip ahead to that.
Well, no, but that all ties in, because the thing is when he breaks the next day, the kid is emotionless at that point. It's like, and there is no fighting from the kids when she takes him.
It shows the passage of time has been there, even though we didn't have to be shown that a lot of time had passed.
There's after seeing The Fabelmans, which you haven't seen yet, Chuck, but there's a lot about Spielberg I didn't really know about his personal life watching his movies growing up. Watching this one and the relationship between Gar and Dreyfuss is very autobiographical. 100%. This is Stephen King channeling emotions about
Spielberg.
Spielberg. Who did I say?
Stephen King.
Jesus Christ. Spielberg channeling emotions about his parents, right?
Well, there is one thing that Stephen King does have in common, and that is rails.
Rails?
Really?
Trains, rails of coke.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being literal.
Yeah.
I thought Spielberg was
Like,
on
what?
coke. I was like, what?
No.
That's a bad one, though.
Yeah.
Although, no, I did say the moment I saw like Dreyfuss playing with the train, it's like,
Yeah.
this is Spielberg.
Absolutely.
He is Spielberg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, there's broken families are a thing in Spielberg movies. E.T. is a divorced mom, It's,
it used to be a thing in all of his movies.
Yeah.
Has not been for a very long time.
true. Yeah.
But
Yeah. You're right, though.
But he hasn't really made very personal films, other than, some of his war films and things,
Sure.
which surely are, historical documents in a way. But, until Fabelmans. I mean, that's why Fabelmans, I think, it's like the most pure Spielberg movie we've had in decades. It really is.
I need to watch it.
yeah, no, definitely recommend.
So seeing it in close proximity to Close Encounters, it was pretty enlightening.
Yeah. But yeah, the scene with, so you've got like missing aircraft. You've got these things that are kind of shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And they have gone missing. There's, they have a record of it. It's like, these are planes that flew in 1945. And they haven't really, it's like, and they look brand new. They're fueled. They're, all of that stuff. Then you start to get the mystery of the son saying to this guy, it's like, what does that guy mean by that? What did he,
Right.
And so like, then it doesn't try to explain anything yet. It goes to the Indianapolis International Airport.
It never does explain anything. That's what's great
Right.
about it, right? Like,
We
you have to
experience it.
You have to put it together. Like,
Right.
they are still figuring it out on the platform, like
Right. Yeah.
2 hours and 8 minutes later in the film. But go ahead.
No, right. But then you go to the first real kind of tense scene that is not showing anything. There's a tense scene that shows a lot of stuff, and there's a tense scene that shows nothing.
Right.
And so here we have
Barry.
we have the guy in the control tower who's like, talking to the airplane. The airplane's like reporting something. You don't really understand what they're reporting, and it's an everyday thing. It's like, well, this sector is clear, this sector is clear. Oh, you see something. Okay, well, try adjusting 30 degrees or, whatever. And it's all plainly taught, but you start to see people crowding around, and it's great. Like, this isn't right.
People are crowding around. They're looking over his shoulder, and the camera is slowly coming in, pushing in.
Yeah.
And it just creates this really tense scene. Yeah.
By the way, this won best cinematography.
It's fucking gorgeous.
Right. So he's, and he's like, and then whatever it is that the plane sees, it starts coming at him really fast, and it's a near miss. And the plane's like, whoa, the pilot's like, that was close. And so a guy gets on there and he's like, do you want to report a UFO? And you can tell by the pause.
Yeah.
That they know what that means to do that.
Right.
That they're probably not going to work again because they're going to probably be labeled crazy.
Yeah. It's going to always be on their record.
That's a good point.
They reported a UFO.
I wondered why they would say no.
It's stigmatized.
Because everybody later, when they're talking to the Air Force, is treated like, you didn't see it. It's like, look, we threw a pewter plate in the air and took a picture of it.
But that's part of the cover-up.
Well, sure, but it's still part of they're leaning on the stigma. They're leaning on making these bumpkins seem like bumpkins.
Yeah. I love the line when he says, "You can't fool us by agreeing with us."
Yeah,
that's like perfection. Perfection.
Right. So like the pilot's like, "Do you want to?" And he's like, "No," and he sounds defeated. He's like, "No," and then the other guy's like, yeah, no, we don't want to do that.
See nothing.
I'm not interested in that. Nope.
Right.
Nope.
And so, but that the moment that that they turned off the radio, they were like, what the fuck was that?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, what the hell
they
did
know
we
what
just
they
see?
saw.
Yeah.
Well, they know that they don't know what they saw, but they know what they saw wasn't normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't a flying trial by the National Guard or the Air Force.
It's also just going to, even if they do believe them, it's just going to fuck up their day, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm going to probably be in an interrogation room for 3 days. I'm just tired. I want to go home.
They're not going to give me hush money.
Right, exactly, right.
It's just going to be an ordeal, right? Yeah.
And so, and all of that, it's like, if you kind of think about that sort of stuff, it's like, that is, again, another societal kind of thumb on the scale where it's like, no. Don't say anything that seems a little too out of the ordinary.
Right.
Don't act a little too out of the ordinary. So again, that kind of ties back to, dealing with, with what some of the stuff that Dreyfus deals with.
Yeah.
So
on the micro instead of the
exactly. And so this is, the writing for that scene is just, it's tense. There's naturally a part of you. It's like, switch over and I want to see what they're seeing. But just hearing it is kind of creepy, and it kind of wears on you a little bit.
The less you see, the better kind of
exactly.
Thing. For the first 30 minutes of this movie, that's the way they treat it, and it's done really well.
Right. Now we do get a hint of it right away next, because then things start happening in Barry's room, the little kid.
Yeah.
And so something is going on, and he just leaves. He just goes.
He's enchanted by what he's seeing. And this plays like a ghost story.
Yeah.
Not an alien invasion. So it's still kind of, invasion is the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
No, right. No,
it plays like a ghost story, like, someone's controlling all the toys. There's a spirit in the house, right?
Right.
And you never see it, which also screams spirit, right? Like, not some kind of living being, like.
There's also an orb, it's like the classic
the ghost
orb, right?
Yeah, but that guy's always late to the party. He's chasing the other guys.
He's giving people sunburns and shit. He looked like a 50-50 bar.
What is that guy? Like, I wonder about that one, because there can't be something inside it. It's got to be like a camera or something,
or a probe or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, like just something that's reading things.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
What I love about Barry is there's kind of two things at play right here, right? There's this innocence
Mhm.
and his childlike wonder, but he's not scared, right? So it's almost kind of like, all right, is he just naive, or is what he's seeing, is he perceiving it correctly as benevolent, right?
Yeah.
So you can go either way with it, and you're kind of on one hand you're worried for him because he's just a kid, he doesn't know what he's getting into, but on the other hand, maybe there isn't anything to fear, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, he's not subject to the stigma. The
Right. He's the representation of the part of Neary and the part of the woman that like is driving them to try to figure out what's going on without any inhibitions. Right. Like they have nothing. He has nothing holding him back from that curiosity or that draw.
Exactly. And he's not. He's not. And if he says he sees things,
well, you can sweep that under the rug real easy, right?
Right. I mean, it's just the kid saying that he's seen, but to him, it's he's not going to be thrown out of society for it.
No, they'll say he's just a 4-year-old kid.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, but here's another single mom who has a farm.
Yep.
Okay, she has a farmhouse,
right?
But potentially could also have a farm.
Right. All the windows are up. That's Indiana for you, right?
Yep.
Totally safe. You can leave all the windows open.
Well, there's no house for 40 miles around there.
Right.
Well, except for the valley. The valley that
the
totally
glacier didn't hit Muncie.
Right. Are they sure this isn't southern Indiana and not northern Indiana?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, but so he takes off, and of course, his mom, which is Melinda Dillon, has to go after him. And meanwhile, Roy, who's Richard Dreyfuss, needs to go to work because there's there's like rolling power outages, and so he happens to get the job.
He knows something that's critical to solving the problem, and
because he was a journeyman in that area.
Job.
Yeah, and it's like, your supervisor's stuck in an elevator, so you get the job,
right?
And so he goes, and so he gets lost. Which is possible in county roads in Indiana, as I know myself. And it gets dark and it gets scary and you don't know what's around you.
Well, yeah, and in 1977, it's all big, giant maps you're trying to read.
Exactly.
Not your phone telling you where to go.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I love how they set this up. I love it. I love it. I love it. He stops to read the map. Car comes up behind him. He waves it by. It comes around and it's like, hey, you're stopped in the road, asshole. And he calls him a turkey.
Yeah. Turkey.
Yeah.
Something turkey. My kids were like, you just call him a turkey?
It's PG, kids. It's PG.
They say shit later though.
Well, that's 70s PG. So anyway, so then he's still reading his map.
Pulls up at the train track.
Yeah, and then there's another light that comes up behind him.
Looks like a car.
Looks like a car. Looks like, every light that he would have on it. And he's like, yeah, go by. But it doesn't drive around him. It goes up and over him. That's just fantastic.
The reaction I got, I'll share this occasionally. My kids were both like, oh.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And, I've seen this scene many times in my life, so I just kind of chuckle, because it's like, oh, I know what's coming. It's like, oh, this is good. And then that's when it starts like, rattling everything around them, and the train, railway warning signs and everything start going off. And and it's like, that's when he like looks out and he sees, and it flashes something at him, which I think that's the message at that point.
Right.
And he gets sunburned on half his face. But then when his reaction when everything comes back on,
the flashlight killed me. Everything scares him after that. Right. In that moment, it's great.
So then, and so this is where we really get to see for the first time these things, these ships, because it all leads to a California road where there's a valley and it's going apparently up a mountain. Indiana, folks.
Indiana.
And he almost hits Barry.
Neary almost runs over Barry and meets his mom.
And there's a family of bumpkins in the back of a truck. We don't know what they're there for.
They've received the message before, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they probably saw whatever the last time, like the day before or something.
Right.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, here comes these things that look like ice cream.
I guess.
I like that Neary gets that from Barry.
Yeah.
Because Barry's like, ice cream.
Yeah.
Which I think is supposed to be like an ice cream truck, I would think.
That's the way I read it, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But anyway, he does think it looks like orange ice cream. Because that's what he tells Terry Garr.
Apparently, like getting that kid to react to things was difficult. So they were holding things up off screen,
Nice.
like toys, and that's when he calls them toys. It's because he's looking at a real toy that someone's holding up to get him to react.
My kids both asked me too, like, what's off screen to get him to do this?
Toys.
I'm like, I don't know. Probably
The exact thing he said.
Ice cream?
Toys.
That's
yeah,
funny.
Yeah.
Could be ice cream as well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's almost as difficult as Bruce the Shark.
Barry is so much better than
Spielberg.
Bob. So.
Spielberg didn't want to shoot on location because of his experience on Jaws, and he really ended up not having a choice. He had to shoot on location. He said it was twice as hard, and it sucked twice as much. Like
Right.
the shoot, he had an awful time.
These
Well-
movies come out in the same year. Was
No.
Jaws 76 or 5?
75 and 77.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. And then, so this is now where, so Roy meets Melinda Dillon's character, which is, what is her name?
It's not said much in the movie. Kate, maybe? I don't know.
Jillian.
Yeah,
Jillian.
I was close.
So, yeah, that was real close. I mean, one letter off.
Yeah.
And then a bunch more.
I was so close.
So now, now it's Roy trying to understand what it is that he's seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because now this is where this is where the obsession part of the whole thing becomes.
A message has been delivered to him and he can't recall it
Right.
fully.
Right. But he knows he saw something great.
Yeah.
So he goes home. The kids sleeping in their different positions is hilarious.
Yeah. I used to sleep like the little girl, like all bunched up,
Like on your knees, like just basically face down.
Yeah, when I was a
One kid's hanging off the bunk bed.
Nobody's ever sleeping in the same place in this movie, in that household.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah.
Terry Garr even ends up in the kids'
Right,
to the
she
bunk
does.
bed on the
Sleeping in
floor.
bunk bed.
But that's because of the fight the night before.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, so then, so now he's like trying to get her to understand. She like at first is taking this kind of well, right? She's like, aren't you going to comment on the fact that I'm taking this really well that we're out here in the middle of the night looking at nothing?
You used to come out here to want to look at me, not whatever's not out here. Yeah.
Right.
And then they start making out and he's looking up in the sky.
Right.
So his attention is diverted and it gets worse the rest of the way, basically.
And until he finally pieces together what the message was.
Well, he gives up. That's when he actually figures it out.
Right. But then once he realizes where he needs to go, he becomes focused again.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, he is not going to be deterred from getting to, the Devil's Tower.
Right.
So at this point, like, now news reports are coming out and she's hiding it from him.
Right.
And so here's where you start to see her almost as a little bit of an antagonist because she doesn't really want to understand what's wrong with him. He's been fired. They fired him over the phone too, which he doesn't really care about that. He saw something really, really cool.
She basically becomes his mom. Like, if you want to boil it down, like, simply, like, they're no longer in a relationship. She's his mother. Like she has to tell him what to do, what to think, where to be, or at least that's what she's trying to do.
Right. And some of that, I think, is just to kind of get him back on whatever
reality they were in before.
Right. Whatever narrow, like, this is the only way we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah. So, yeah. And this is, meanwhile, we still have, the Truffaut and Balaban characters going around getting these reports. And this is when they end up in India. And they're all singing the song that they heard.
That scene is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's
that kind of
thousands of people.
Yeah, it gives it an epic feel, right? Like this is a big movie, right?
Yeah.
Those scenes are important to give it scope. Yeah.
Is it important like mashed potatoes?
This is important. This means something. I can only think of where it out.
But it almost feels like a religious experience, right? Like
it is.
What these people have heard is how religions are made.
Yes.
Kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. And
it defies what we can comprehend.
Yeah, it's an unexplainable event that you try to explain with something.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's in a way it is almost because this is not long after what's the book that came out in the 70s about aliens being like our gods?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That was that documentary that scared you, wasn't it?
No.
That was the Nostradamus.
That's
one.
the Nostradamus one.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Was it Chariots of the Gods?
Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah. Okay. So
right.
It's like around that. Yep. So it's like it's kind of playing off of that concept
For sure.
too. And so but like it's such a Spielberg shot where it's like, where did the sound come from? And they all point up.
Yeah.
And that's sort of repeated in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're adult, they have Barry play it on his little xylophone right after to reconfirm to you, like, hey, everyone
is hearing this. Yes. Yeah.
And right, which is the thing, which then points us back to the first guy who said the son sang to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, okay, that's what that means. Yeah. So now we're kind of piecing it together, and like, obviously we're just as smart as Francois Truffaut.
Just as smart.
just as at this point in the movie, at this point in this script, we are just as smart as he is.
Well, there is kind of an interesting, like, we learn things that the scientists learn after they've learned it, because we get these kind of jumps in time, right? Because there's all sorts of meetings and deductions that are happening that we don't get to see, but we know more than them because we know this is a phenomenon that has much more branched out, and that they understand. Like there are people who have been imprinted in some way,
right?
And that they're going to find that out, but they don't know that, but we do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. We're ahead and behind both parties.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, what we understand more than the scientist is the actual humanity part of it. The don't you see that this is becoming a phenomenon, not a scientific thing to what's all this, what is causing this?
And I like that Truffaut, is it Truffaut? Truffaut, he remains skeptical the whole time. He never like, this is what it is.
Right. He's the
always a skeptic, even though
he
he's
is the scientific method. Yeah. I mean, he's the embodiment of the scientific method, down to, I'm going to, I had this one theory about the hand signals. I'm going to give it a shot right before the aliens take off.
Right.
And, and it's, and he's kind of justified in that thought too. Because it was able, the little alien guy repeats it back and even repeats his smile.
Right.
Which I never knew he smiled.
Yeah.
Hard to see in
probably in VHS days.
Yes.
Yeah. But I like the little guy who smiles. Mm-hmm. The first one that comes out of that ship, we're jumping ahead. That thing is terrifying.
It's terrible. It's like almost a spider thing.
Yeah,
mantis spider. Like
so and it looks different than the other ones. And all
the other ones look like Barry.
Right. I read about this. The guy who designed the creatures, I can always forget his name. He's the Italian guy who designed E.T. He also designed the freaking scary ass puppet clown thing from Deep Red.
I love that guy.
I know.
I heard his name today, but I can't remember.
I can't remember his name, but he designed the creatures and aliens. And that shot with the spider spindly armed guy was a screen test. That was just a puppeting effect that they'd used as a screen test.
And they loved it.
And Spielberg liked it so much. He's like, that's going in. Yeah.
It almost acts like it's almost Masonic.
Most definitely.
Is that the word?
Masonic, yeah, a little bit. It's like,
Messiah.
I have arrived.
Right. It's like he does that, but then the other ones kind of crowd around him, and it's almost like, oh, he must be like the actual leader or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this later, but the way they handled all the arrivals in that scene is like it's trying to fuck with you. And my kids were fooled so hard, but we'll talk about it later.
I don't love the alien design. We'll talk about it later.
They look like Barry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, they do look like
I
Barry.
think it's almost like we're imprinting on them.
Yeah,
is what I kind of read that as.
That could be. Yeah, that could be.
Because they they obviously were taking different types of people.
Yeah,
I think they could look like probably what they want to.
Yeah,
maybe.
And that's why you get two of them, two different looks, and then they all chose the innocent child to be like.
So you're saying it's like critters?
Yeah, they're critters.
They're like the bounty hunters.
Yes,
critters.
yes.
Do they end up getting staples in their chest?
Oh God! From the Playboy magazine,
from the centerfold.
It's so good.
No, so but anyway, so this is when eventually Truffaut is like playing the sound for this group of people. They rented way too big of a space.
Oh my God! So I have a note the same thing. It's like, why are they in this huge building?
And why are they in a glass trailer in this huge building?
It's like they're in the freaking Superdome, man. It's like, what in the world?
Right. And so like he plays.
They probably thought they were going to capture a ship, and that's where they'd put it.
Maybe. Maybe.
That's a logical.
It just seemed like a symposium at that point, though.
Yeah, it was weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Steph even commented on that. Like, what?
Maybe a lot of the invitations just got lost in the mail.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I don't know. The Weekly World News is a little busy with Bat Boy this week. They can't come to this
one. This is another UFO meeting.
It's like,
that's for crackpots.
I'm going to get the Jersey Devil tomorrow.
Yeah. It's like, hey, call me back when you got Mothman. So no, this is where he introduces the Kodali method, where you use hand signals, and it's the Kerwin hand signs that he's specifically using.
Oh, I was mixing up spots. You guys are talking about the auditorium. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, they're also in a huge location in a glass trailer later that seems totally unnecessary. But go ahead.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we're talking about the Superdome, which apparently was like the Super Bowl of this event, and like nobody showed up.
Yeah.
Now I get
total failure.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe they were just practicing social distancing.
All right,
except they were all seated together.
Well, there were some guys over on the side.
They were like, well, I'm not getting COVID.
They hadn't had a lot. They hadn't had a lot of practice at social distancing.
Right.
They're still.
It's like, I don't know, what are we doing? They're all like
more.
just bouncing around off of each other, and they just sit down.
All right.
So, so this is where he's like, this is how we feel that we can kind of turn this into a way to communicate, something that can be repeated along with the tones. And by the way, I want to talk about the the most famous 5 notes in modern movie history. That whole motif that apparently John Williams had dozens.
Yeah, he did. Versions.
Yeah, and that was the one that was picked. It's good. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good one. But in a way, it almost does.
But he also wrote like hundreds of versions of the motif that was picked.
Right.
Like in different scales and tones and
Yeah. And also the even though it is technically 2 notes short, it does kind of sound like When You Wish Upon a Star. Like it invokes that at least.
Yes, and that was on purpose.
Yeah. But even though it's shorter, it when they mix the 2 later, when Roy is leaving, it's like, oh, that makes perfect. It goes together.
Yep. Yep. That was all Spielberg. That was You know, because he said a lot of the movie was just inspired directly from that song.
Yeah.
And that he wanted the movie to feel like he felt as a child when he would hear that song. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
The wonder of the thing, you know? Yeah.
Well, that's totally dumping into the Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's definitely.
Yeah, it's all dumped into him, even to the point where it's like he's got a music box that plays it.
Yeah. Yep.
And he plays it constantly.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it's like, yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of tying that he's not a normal adult guy that you would think he would be at that time.
Yeah.
In that age.
Yeah, he's a little lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess also the Spielberg wanted to play When You Wish Upon a Star at the end of the movie over the credits. And he did in early test screenings, but it got laughed at like audibly by the audience.
Yeah,
like
fair.
just a little too
a little too on the nose.
a little too sentimental, a little
Yeah.
too on the nose. Yeah. So they ended up taking it out. I think it was the right choice.
Yeah, because that's some good music there at the end.
I think it is though incorporated into one of the other cuts, the special edition or the director's cut. I think it's incorporated into the end credits in some way. I don't know. I haven't seen those cuts. But it's obviously it was a very important song to the genesis of this movie.
Can I say how much I like the fact that the credits of this heavily like special effects movie is like 1/10 of what they are today?
Yeah.
I could sit through that and not have to pee my pants.
Right.
In 1977.
Yep.
Although in 1977, when this movie came out, I was peeing pants. That was happening. But that's just because I was a baby. I was still struggling with my own figuring out existence, let alone worrying about Roy's.
You looked like the end of 2001.
I was like,
yeah, there's like a
well, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't still in my
space baby.
Well, I wasn't still in my sack.
You were in a fetal. You were in a.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I wasn't even. Yeah, I wasn't even.
Yeah, you
conceived.
were more like.
I wasn't even conceived.
You were more like. Anyway.
I was still.
You're still a twinkle in your daddy's eye.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess so. That's such a dumb phrase. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Well, you can't say, well, you're probably just some sperm in his cum.
Oh.
You can't just say that.
Oh.
You're right. You can't. Our episode just went from PG to R.
You're a twinkle, twinkle, little star.
I was a tinkle, tinkle, little star at that in 1977 when this came out.
250 episodes, folks.
Yeah, this is how far we've gotten.
We've gotten good at this.
We've gotten real good at this. Anyway, what else do you guys want to talk about here? What else do you want to talk about?
There's a lot of exposition, for some time here, right? Where things are semi-explained to you, and you see Neary kind of losing his mind. You have, the mashed potato scene, I think, is right after this or somewhere around here.
It's after the second time he goes back to that road where more people have now shown up.
Yeah.
And that's when the old man has the sign that says, what was it?
Stop and be nice. And that's a really cool scene, too, because you think... if you're not cynical, they're like the aliens are coming back to greet them. But in reality, it's the military to tell them to fuck off. Yeah. Which is awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this is where Richard Dreyfuss and Melinda Dillon really kind of first talk to each other. And they kind of share, they have a similar curiosity now.
Yeah. And Barry's building the symbol out of mud.
Yep.
Right.
And he's like, I've been seeing this in shaving cream and and pillows.
Yeah. Something's not right.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's the one old couple that's just eating their KFC right there on the fold away chair and table set.
It did really look like they were in the last drive-in.
I don't understand what you mean by that.
The chairs, the folding chairs.
Oh, the folding
like
chairs.
his. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and this is where this time it gets broken up. It's this time they get broken up because the old man says the thing about the cars. He says that the first time.
Yes.
And he has the sign the second time.
Stop and be friendly.
That's right. So then the military shows up, and then Oh, I guess Ronnie, who's Terry Gar, I think she's there the second night too, because I think she sees. No. That's later. Never mind. That's later when they go to.
I mean, he tells her he's going back, and she's like, "No, you're not," and he does anyway, and she doesn't go with him.
Okay, yeah, it's when they show up to talk to the Air Force that she sees that she notices that he's at least interested in some way in this other woman,
Maybe.
and is kind of jealous about, or at least looks like she's kind of
maybe
taking this the wrong way.
What happens later? Maybe, but
maybe, but she's there. She is. They make a specific point to show her reacting to like watching it. Watching him trying to figure out what happened.
That happens after the abduction,
right? Exactly. Yeah, that's later. So anyway, so then, so basically, Roy's mental health is deteriorating pretty bad. He can't get the sight of something out of his mind, some sort of mountain, some sort of a peak, some sort of, I don't know, maybe he just wants to really watch a Paramount movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's thinking about, for Steven Spielberg, what the first shot of Raiders of the Lost Ark is going to be. Maybe he's helping them out. But he is starting to get a little wilder, and he's more desperate for answers.
Right.
This is about the time also where, Truffaut and the army and United Nations or whoever else is involved with this is trying to figure out, it's like, there's some sort of a message that's being beamed, and it's a series of numbers. And Bob Balaban's like, hey, wait a minute.
It's the old the non-scientific guy is the guy who solves the puzzle trope.
Yeah, well, it's before I was a French interpreter. I was
a cartologist. Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, that's those are
these are coordinates.
There's coordinates on, and so
it cracks me up that they're so ill prepared for this that they have to get a giant globe.
Oh god, that scene where they all rush that freaking globe.
Like, that's probably one of the things that's most dated in this movie, but it's charming.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a $2,000 globe. What are you doing with it?
Yeah. Don't worry. If we know what this is going to be, don't worry about it. Don't get a new globe. Yeah, but they're like, they bum rush the globe, and then they push it down the hallway. But they realize that it can't be coordinates in the sky because there's no inclination declination. So it has to be something earthbound. And it's kind of funny how Devil's Tower was not a famous thing until this movie.
Huh.
I mean, I think it was one of the first things that Roosevelt like named a national monument or something, or a natural national monument.
Which is pretty funny. When they triangulate Wyoming, my firstborn said Devil's Tower. They're going to Devil's Tower.
That's amazing. I mean, it's like that is so ubiquitous with this movie that I don't even think it's used in any other movie. Like,
why not?
I mean, it's just that. Anyway, so they figure out that's where it is. Meanwhile, Roy is like, he's building his own Devil's Tower in the living room. He works pretty fast on that.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at that.
Well, that scene is just. You do kind of feel bad for Terry Garr and that situation, because he is unhinged.
I want to set that up.
Why doesn't he just build the fucking thing outside? Why does he have to build it in the house?
Yeah, he's weird. I do want to set this up though, because he'd build it multiple times, right, in clay or whatever, and he really was resigned to give up. He's like, okay, all this shit's coming down now, honey. Like, I'm done with this, and he tries to pull the model he's built off, and the top cracks,
and he's like, that's it. Yeah,
that's when he goes really unhinged, because this is what I've been trying to do. Now I need to build it bigger for some reason.
Right. Well, he he even tells her, like, when he's like pulling up everything, she's like, the plants are fine
where they are.
Yeah. And he's like pulling everything, and she's like, let's get you some help. And he's like, no, you're gonna need help if I can't do this.
Right.
Like that's how, like, like, locked
also
in.
Like, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
You're gonna love this. This is gonna look great. It does look great.
Yeah,
I will say that. I don't know if I want it in the way of the TV.
I don't know if I want it in the house at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably brought in so many bugs.
That was a lot
He
of
wanted
dirt.
to deal with this shit eventually anyway.
Well, no, no, it's
leaving a mess and he's done
that's
with
that's a whole other world's problem at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, she's gonna come home and it's like, oh fuck.
Oh.
It's like, I guess I don't want the house.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so yeah, he's like, oh, when he's like shoveling the dirt into the
kitchen window.
and one of the kids is like, "Can we throw dirt in my room?"
Yeah, can we throw dirt in my room next, Dad?
That's hilarious.
He pulls the one lady's like little duck,
Chicken wire?
yeah, like the little geese.
Oh yeah, her ducks get loose. She's trying to.
Yeah, trying to corral them. But apparently it's fine. A few hours later, everybody's back to playing baseball and doing their normal shit. So I guess it's okay. I mean, this may just be it's kind of like how, they always say it's like, crazy stuff can happen in New York and nobody pays attention. Maybe that happens in Muncie, too.
Oh, no, that's total Midwest bullshit, though. Like, everybody will stand out in their lawns and watch the spectacle, and then when it's over, just go back to their lives.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's Indiana for you.
Maybe call up somebody in the next town over and say, you wouldn't believe what happened here.
It is kind of nice, though, like the scene where he looks out the window and everyone's doing what normal people, in air quotes, would do to relax and have fun. And it should be the picture of, like, wholesomeness. And he's like, ugh.
Yeah.
He's like, this isn't enough.
Right.
Like, these people have no idea what's out there.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty cool.
Well, yeah. And again, it's that dreamer kind of stuck in a small place, not just physically small place, but a kind of a curiosity small place.
Right.
People who are just not all that curious. I mean, they get their, I'll go ahead and say it like this. They get their fantasy on every Sunday morning.
Right.
That's, it's like,
yeah,
he has to have it every day, and they get it. They just get it at church.
But he's actually experienced something.
That's true.
He doesn't understand it, but he has experienced something. And it is a bit of a conversion of sorts,
sure.
right?
There is a religious element to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he builds the thing and he just doesn't understand it.
No, and there's the great scene where he's talking to his wife on the phone, and this is like the relationship is over, right? You can tell on the phone, and the whole time they keep showing the Devil's Tower on the TV, and my kids are like, "No!" Every time he looks away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he only looks at it when the
great.
newscaster's on, and then
Yeah. But then he hangs up the phone and he looks and he's like, "Oh my God!" Right? And
then he is off.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's
gone.
And they had mentioned earlier they needed a natural disaster large enough to convince 3,000 to 4,000 people to leave the area.
This is another great line. So they're like, "Oh, maybe anthrax."
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy says, "There's always one joker who thinks he's immune." Now, ain't that the truth? Welcome to the last 3 years of our existence.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Oh my, yes.
Imagine if that was going on today. Oh God, no! It's they would.
Well, they did.
Impossible.
They did say they'd already kind of pushed the cattle ranchers a little too far. Like they were pretty skeptical to start.
Well, and even the news report doesn't even take it that seriously. Next time, order your steak well done or extra well, and it's like,
what?
It is. I'm not eating any. No, I'm not getting any Wyoming beef.
Right.
So they basically, it's like 300 square miles that they block off, and and it is well acted. I mean, like they knock out the animals, although some of those animals did look dead.
They did look dead. But they had to look dead.
Sure,
to
but
convince people.
But some of those sheep were not in great shape.
They may not have been real sheep.
They probably weren't.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But anyway, and like there's always the huckster who's like selling the birds.
Oh, that killed me.
That's
that's great.
Guy, I love it.
So that was one of many times where I was like, wow, this Contact owes so much to this movie.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things in Contact that I feel like were just plucked out of Close Encounters and then given, the full treatment.
Right.
And that guy was one of them.
Yeah. And that's just shows you like Spielberg's attention to detail, and like just having this one little guy in the middle of the crowd is like, that's a great detail, and it's awesome.
He is making out too.
Yeah. I mean,
Everybody's-
sold something to Barry's mom.
Yeah. Sold something to Jillian.
Thank you.
And yeah, so like, but She's getting, I mean, and like, there is something unsettling seeing people being essentially shoved into a train that is not going to be comfortable, and they're being forced into it. There is something uncomfortable about that whole scene too. But what I really like about that scene, so when Jillian and Roy see each other, we don't hear what they say to one another.
Right.
It pulls out, and the next thing you know, they're in the car off to try to sneak their way into Devil's Tower.
Yeah.
And she's got birds. She's got some birds with her. And I love it when they're like, and he's like, he is so certain there's nothing wrong with the air. And then they kind of look at each other and they
put the
just
mask
put the mask on.
Yeah. Better safe than sorry. I love the line where she's telling him like what happened after Barry was abducted, and the authorities coming by, and that they asked if I had seen any strange people in the neighborhood or any strange visitors in the neighborhood, and Dreyfuss's reaction to that is perfect.
Yeah. And she laughs that they dragged the lake, but I told him he wasn't in the lake. Yeah.
That's if we had any strange visitors in the neighborhood.
Right.
Her performance in this is kind of interesting too, because her child has been abducted, but you don't feel like she ever really feels like he's in danger either. Just that she wants him back, right?
Right.
She misses him and she wants him back.
Well, she's like living in motels though. I mean, you just don't follow her as much.
I know, but her reaction, like she's not like 1,000% devastated her child was abducted.
Well, she's got
like in the middle somewhere.
It's not necessarily that, I don't think, Chuck. I think she's devastated, but not to the point of inaction, right? She's like moving forward. She knows that that what she's experiencing, what she's seeing can lead her back to him.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, she has hope. There's hope in there. She's not devastated that he's gone forever.
I do see what you're saying though, that maybe she understands that she just has to be where they're going to be, that they're not dangerous, that she will get him back.
Yes.
But she has a moment of resignation on Devil's Tower.
Yeah, where she's like, I can't go with you.
He's not there.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's not yet.
Not yet.
Right.
Not until the big boy comes.
Yeah, the mothership.
Yeah. And like I said, once you know that R2-D2 stuck to the bottom of that, you can't unsee that. Because it's in the first 10 seconds of the reveal. It's like, there he is. He's even lit up too. Anyway, so there's some... I like how very little the French is subtitled.
Yeah.
Because that puts you, especially in the interrogation scene with Dreyfuss, you're in his shoes at this point.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't know what he's hearing, but he knows they're talking about something, and he knows that they're putting them on.
Right.
And he kind of wins them over in that. Like, they're gonna send him away, but they also understand this wasn't the first guy that's shown up. There's clearly, they have gotten some sort of a reason to come here.
And Truffaut is like, they were invited.
They were invited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's still remaining, like, he's doing the process. He's like, they're supposed to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. For whatever is about to happen, they're supposed to be here. And I love that. And he's watching them escape from the helicopter, and you're just like, God, I love this Truffaut guy.
It's fantastic. And it's the whole reason why Truffaut makes him part of the selection party, right?
Yeah.
Is because like he knows, it's like, if anyone's going to get picked, it's going to be this guy.
Yeah, he's like, we need to talk about the Neary situation.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know what it is, but he knows what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
Right. And that's just, again, following the process, and not a hunch. It's a theory.
Yeah.
And it's a theory that is going to be proven by the end of the night.
right.
Yeah.
And if he's wrong, he's wrong. He's a scientist.
No harm, no foul, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He's a scientist. You throw away that theory and you develop the new one. So they make him part of Devo.
Send the 80s new wave band.
They're going to whip it good.
Those people do. V stole those outfits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like, what outfits can we get cheap? Well, we got a bunch of these from
Like the leftover ones from Close Encounters, yeah.
That'll do. Sew these little patches on and let's move on. They even got the sunglasses. Great. And I like how they make a point to show those people go through those religious element too, where it's like, you know, it makes you wonder, did the aliens do that back in their home play? You know, did they send them off with some, whatever their thing is, you know?
Right.
So they get, long story short, there's an attempt to gas them, to put them to sleep so they don't see anything. They escape that barely. Larry doesn't.
No. Who was Larry? Yeah.
Yeah, he's just some goofus that Dreyfus used to body block the army guy.
Yeah.
He just pushed them right into, took off. So you're on your own, Larry.
Good luck, Larry.
Yeah.
See you later.
But so they end up they see the whole thing take, and so like you got the three that we've seen before, and they make contact, and then they take off, and everybody's like, all right, guys, we did it. Everybody's shaking hands and high-fiving.
Yeah.
It's like they're done. But then
The real spectacle.
the lightning and like thunder, and like it's like, uh-oh, this ain't over yet.
I love before that when they are communicating and the scientists are first trying to keep up.
Yeah.
Then like looking at each other, like, is anybody actually recording all of this?
Yeah.
You know? And then also when they realize what's happening and that they're trying to communicate, and like, it's the first day of school, fellas.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't even know what we're saying back and forth.
Right.
Well, we're going to find out someday.
Yep.
Or we start figuring it out now.
Yeah.
Right.
They're giving them the whole code
Yeah.
to this language, but it's going to probably take a long time to figure it out.
Right.
Really, I think all the aliens are doing are just seeing if we can repeat it back.
Yeah.
Testing our own intelligence to be able to, like,
Again, it's like contact, right?
well, yeah, and it's kind of,
They should know our intelligence because they have a bunch of people.
well, sure, but they aren't scientific people
Yeah.
that they have. They have military people. They have a kid. They have,
Right.
you know, some girl that was like, I guess, taken on from the beach or something. I don't know what she was wearing, but it was like, that's not an outfit. I don't know what this is. I do like, and they do tip the cap at the relativity aspect
Yes,
of
they
it.
do. They do. Well, even somebody even says that.
Yeah.
Einstein was
Einstein.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he for all we know, he was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like that's important to, you know, things aren't going to age the same way.
One of my kids speculated that they were going to look like humans when they came out, and that's the whole thing. Like when they actually open the doors and the humans come out, they're like, "I was right," and then
like,
like,
nope.
nope.
we got to resolve that first scene thread. Yeah.
Which was great because they've got the board
Yeah.
of all the people who are on all the ships they discovered. Because there was actually a military boat as well.
Yeah, it was
you
a
know?
giant like battleship
Yeah.
or something.
And they had them all, and they're just crossing them out. Like,
Yeah.
we got this one, we got this one. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
They're
that they-
greeting them like, you know.
Yeah, welcome home. You're
Yeah.
mission accomplished. You're done.
It's a cool scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're playing it totally cool, but they're also astonished, right?
Right.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, you don't want to scare the people coming
Right.
back either. It's like they're time displaced at this
Yeah.
point. They're going to have enough of a freak out
Yeah.
Yeah.
before long.
Yeah.
The moment they get to the hotel room and the TV comes on, they're going to flip the fuck out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody that they've known is 30 some years older.
Well, some came from 1918.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, right.
Yep.
But yeah, and then, you know, it's like the thing shuts and opens again, more people come out. And that's where Barry is. And she's finally realized, it's like, wait, people are coming out. So she goes down and joins
Yeah.
in, hoping, like, that's just the hope of that Barry's going to be one of them. But, we've kind of passed over the whole magnitude of which the mothership communicates.
It's so awesome.
It is awesome.
Because, you know, it's like, okay, well, we got to try the code again and, you know, try to communicate. And then it blows out everything and then it takes over. And it's like, it's just the info dump. It's like, there it is. It's everything you need to know about us.
It's a fucking concert. It's wonderful.
Right. It really is. And I love the lights coordinating to the notes behind. It's like just all the different ways that they are attempting to communicate.
Well, they even code them as like light blue and
Yep.
the colors play the green, half step to the red or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they play the brown note, and the one guy runs to the
the
porta
shower.
potty.
I love that too, because at first it looks like he's going to get Richard, get Neary, and then he's just like, nope, get on
Interestingly, that's how Chuck came out. He must have heard that too.
Yeah.
It wasn't lunch.
I was listening to the Close Encounters soundtrack.
So and also this is something that shows that this movie isn't cynical at all.
No,
because this is one of the rare instances in which the aliens are friendly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it follows the concept that, you know, you first heard about like watching Cosmos and Sagan speculating that you can't do interstellar or intergalactic travel and to do it for malevolent reasons. Yeah,
right.
you are going to go there for scientific, you know, exploration. And if you land someplace where the host organism on that planet is dangerous, you're probably able to wipe it out.
I don't know that,
or at least wipe out the threat and then get out of there.
I don't know that I'd call these aliens fully benevolent, though.
Well,
Because
not fully, but
they've abducted people for the last 100
Sure.
years, and the only way they're going to give them back to you is if you give them another.
well,
And they don't leave one of their own. So it is
No,
there
but-
is a bit of
but it is coldness, and I look at it as cold scientific. Like they're doing
they're still the boss in this situation.
well, sure, because
They're
they have all the
controlling-
technology.
they're controlling everything, and they don't leave anything for us.
No,
So there is still
well,
a threat. There is a threat.
absolutely.
Of them.
But there isn't that character, that military guy or whomever
Who yells shoot?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's not a single tank or a machine gun
Yeah.
at that whole landing place.
So it's almost like it's a humanity that's being represented here that doesn't really exist, right? Humanity that is willing to be in awe and wonder and subservient to potentially our betters, right?
Right.
And we're willing to make that exchange
Right.
For down the line.
for hope or future benefit.
For a
right?
down the line benefit.
That is not the way our bureaucracies work. Right?
No.
No, that's how
This
religion works.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
right. It is, and this is in a sort of way. I got to bring it up. This is kind of how Starfleet works, right? Or the Federation, right? They're not going to mess with. They're not going to give us weapons or anything that could be turned into a weapon or that could progress us beyond where we should be.
Right.
But with a little bit of, you give us a little bit more, you'll get it all later.
Right.
Like that code, whatever they deliver in the message might be everything we need. And so the trade-off is Richard Dreyfuss.
But they're definitely they're putting a lot of faith in this situation.
Yes.
Yes.
100%. It's like religious
Yes.
experience, which is weird for the scientific people to.
Well, it's
But they can see it. It's in front of them.
Right. It's
Right.
real.
They
It's
don't.
real.
It's a real thing, and yes, it could all be terrible. But at the same time, it's like, what are we gonna do?
And it makes you wonder.
right. If they want us gone, they'll get us gone.
It
Right.
makes you wonder what it is about Neary too, because you don't get any there's nothing special about him.
Well,
But the aliens
he's
want him. They
but
want him specifically.
he's a pure embodiment of the human experience, is what I looked at it as.
Okay.
I think
It's that wonder that he has he shows more. He's certainly going to be more curious than the military guys. He's more intelligent than the kid. You know, he's got a almost agnostic wonder about what could be, and I think maybe that's what they're looking for as the representative of the human race.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
They
really
imprint a
consider-
lot of people, though, right? He's just the only one that got through, other than Melinda Dillon.
Well, they didn't even attempt to look for her, though.
Yeah, but she could have probably
Right,
just as
maybe.
easily have been picked.
Maybe,
right?
yeah.
I think anyone who
very
was,
possible, yeah.
who they kind of scanned or whatever could potentially have been picked.
You know, maybe that's what that little ball of light guy was like, you know, finding the candidates.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
That's interesting.
But I also wonder, like,
I mean, because he also
What's their-
shows
what's their selection process?
What can Neary offer them?
is
That's
he
what I'm wondering.
Is he a pretty decent actor?
And at the same time,
That's it.
And at the same time, it's like, what is it about him before he was picked that is what they want? Because a lot of his obsession is because of what they've done to him.
Well, that might be part of it. Does he achieve this through to the end of what we give him, or is he just the family of the Fatso Indiana bumpkins in the back of the truck that just wants the seat?
Well, you could also be right. It's sort of like all right, we 100 people got this message. The one who actually gets...
Natural selection is going to give us the one we want.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
And it's going to be more than
Dillon
physical.
Could go, but she wants her son back. She wants to be with her son. Like her needs and wants are earthly.
Yeah.
Right. And so I mean it's not physical survival of the fittest or whatever. It's it's everything.
Yeah.
It's a fuller package than just the muscle guys. Because otherwise, I mean, they would have already found their people and they would have never come back.
Well, it feels like they tried to take him when he was in the truck. Like they were lifting him up and he just like...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things I definitely wanted to kind of...
They definitely didn't want Devo.
They didn't want Devo.
They're like...
No, it's like, we've heard Whip It a lot.
Small doses for those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're great, but we don't want that all the time.
Right. Exactly. Sometimes we want Mr. Holland's Hopus, or whatever. Anyway.
Mr. Holland's Hopus.
So Neary came back and he could play music real well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, to them, it's mathematical, like, knowledge. It's like...
Right.
Devo ain't got it. Anyway, it's like, man, do you have a Duran Duran, perhaps?
All right.
Or an NXS. Right. Anyway, but one of the things I wanted to talk about was like all of the different types of ships that show up at the end and are like kind of swirling around like before the mothership comes. I did wonder a little bit. It's like, is this an amalgamated group? Because like those ships don't have really any rhyme of reason to their shape or their purpose. For that matter, it's like, why is the one that's just an elbow, PVC elbow? What is that thing? What does that thing do? I understand what the triangular one does. I understand what the mothership does, but the thing that just looks like a piece of PVC pipe that's been decorated floating through the air, what is that thing? And that's not me saying that it's bad. It's just the first thing I thought of when I saw the elbow shape. But no, it's like I wondered if maybe this is eventually an invitation to a larger community for Earth.
Well, what it looked like to me was an antenna for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like every single possible type of radio antenna were stuck to those ships. Like they were...
Well, no, I was talking about like the actual shapes of the ships. Because there's some that are like...
A lot of it is shaped, though, from everything that's protruding from them. They're very spindly.
Right, but I mean, like, I'm just saying, it's like there's no two ship that looks the same.
Fair.
When they're flying around.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe they are pieces of the mothership, maybe, and they're just like,
it's like Voltron.
Yeah, it could be, or it is, like I said, maybe it's they're holding tryouts to see, hey, are these people worthy to join us?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Again, that's why I brought up the whole Federation element, because it's like
the warp capabilities.
I mean,
is that what it was?
The Vulcans. Yeah, the Vulcans show up.
They're just inviting us to the diner at the end of the universe.
There it is. Yeah.
Well, originally, Firelight, the Spielberg movie that he made when he was 17, it was a similar kind of story, right? A sci-fi story about UFOs. But the end of that one was very Ray Bradbury. It was they abducted the whole town to put them into a human zoo.
Oh God, that's very Ray Bradbury.
It's a very like 17-year-old idea, right? You
right.
know, very Ray Bradbury, very Twilight Zone-y.
Yeah, or Richard Matheson, maybe. Yeah.
But I guess like a lot of what he shot in that, he recreated shot for shot in Close Encounters because he knew what he wanted. There were things that, you know, he staged, he saw in his brain that he had to exercise.
Right.
I would very much. We talked about this in our best of, but watching this movie on a big screen on a huge format would be probably like seeing Nope.
Yeah.
Like those nighttime, those dusk and twilight shots, that like looking out into the distance, like those shots, the establishing shots of every time, from Melinda Dillon's farmhouse. Like, I mean, there's just, it isn't much in the background, but it's full of depth.
Yeah.
Well, I've watched Nope and Jaws and Close Encounters within the last 6 months. And I know a lot of people said this, but Nope is like 100% Jaws and Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Mixed together.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
Very, very like tip of the cap to Spielberg.
Yeah, I think even at this point, Jordan Peele has said exactly that.
Probably, yeah.
Well, and I mean, obviously this movie left an impression with J.J. Abrams because lens flare is aplenty in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that he's tried to recreate this exact look. Again, even in his Star Trek, he's trying to create a look that looks like Close Encounters. Like that fits in that.
Yeah.
Abrams definitely loves Spielberg because
absolutely.
Super 8 is a love song.
Yeah,
it's an
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that honestly I like the way it looks more than I like the movie itself.
Yeah.
Not that I think it's a bad movie. It's just I like to look at it instead.
Yep. It's pastiche. Yeah.
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 But yeah, no, this is one that can stick with you a little bit. You know, it's like we talked a little bit about like the song that the aliens play. It's like that's something that's an earworm that is not bad, and it kind of makes you feel good. You know, it's like it's a movie that you can think about and you think, gosh, it's a nice feeling to think about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's weird too because there's a crumbling marriage. There's all sorts of bad stuff in this that you just kind of skate by almost.
Yeah.
Well,
a man abandons his family, and it's you're kind of just okay with it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there's the terrifying abduction scene, which looks amazing. It's one of the best. When Barry opens the door and
it's just that orange
sky, it's like, oh my god! And he's like, "The sun's here, mommy."
Yeah,
and
like, it's terrifying, but you still just go with it.
And that has been recreated and pastiched by so many
and it's not looked better than it does here anywhere.
No.
And that's also, if somebody, I think it might have been the Inside the Actor Studio guy. What was his name?
James Lipton.
Lipton. He asked Spielberg what he thought was the one moment in all of his movies that was like his signature defining like look, and that's what he picked.
Yeah,
was
I'm not
the door.
surprised.
That was the doorway. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, this is something that flies by in seconds in that scene. What's coming down the chimney? Because that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's like ribbons of smoke, like
something.
It's Phoebe Cates' dad.
Holy shit!
I got dark.
But no, like because your mind's
stuck in there.
Yeah, he's still stuck in there.
I mean, they're going to use that idea later.
But no, it's something that like you can kind of think about. Like your imagination starts to run wild. Something's trying to get in. And is it a thing? Or is it, like one of those little orb things? Is it an actual monster? Or is it just,
Oh, when she has to psych herself up to put her arm up the chimney, it's so good. Yeah.
So it's like there's that. And also, this is practice for Raiders of the Lost Ark. The whole end is just like the Nazi island that they're going to open the, it's there's cameras going, there's people standing around, there's let's look and see what happens.
Yep.
Is this like
a light show happens?
Oh yeah. Melty.
What was you?
I was going to ask if this is like top 3 Spielberg for you guys.
Oof.
It's way up there for me.
Well, my number 1 is Raiders of the Lost Ark, probably. But yeah, I mean, this and Jaws would have. I mean, this is the sweet spot of Spielberg here.
Yeah, like 75 to 85. Like he was just
on an absolute tear. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
way up there.
I can't think of any other movies other than the three that I said that can
Yeah, I was just
usurp
curious.
one of the spots.
They're
I mean,
all like really kind of perfect movies in their own way.
Yeah.
Those three.
Yeah.
I mean, you can honestly throw E.T. in there too. That's a
Sure.
movie I mean,
I went and saw that last year in IMAX.
that's one of the first movies I remember seeing in a theater was
Yeah.
E.T. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I went for the 40th anniversary. They put it in IMAX, and yeah, I mean that's one of the few movies that always chokes me up at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
That music. I mean, I think it's
Oh, the music's
I
great.
think it's one of Williams' best scores.
Yeah. Although really, that is
Or maybe best themes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. It's not just it. The only reason why I would say E.T. is probably fourth out of those is that the story itself is lost a little bit into kind of the kid element or the kid wonder part of it.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, it's a lot of just hanging out with E.T. It is. I mean, and trying to hide him from mom.
Right.
You know, but like,
But the shadowy government.
yeah,
people,
like that stuff. But one of those guys is friendly
Mhm.
to them, or at least, if not friendly, he's sympathetic to, and that is I can't think of his name. He's shadowy in everything he plays.
In E.T.
Yeah,
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
but anyway, but no, it's like it was one of those things where it's like when I saw it, it's like okay, yeah, it's like the feeling is there, but the story quite isn't quite.
Right.
You know, but this one, the story is all there. It's
Well, I mean, yeah, we were talking about like all-time sci-fi movies, right? Like pure sci-fi. This is way up there.
way up there.
It's in the conversation with 2001: A Space Odyssey, with Blade Runner. I mean, it is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metropolis.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably put the second only the 2001.
That's kind of what I would feel too. Yep. Boy, I think it'd be a fun, if I were to program 4 movies, I would do 2001, Close Encounters, Contact, and Arrival.
Ooh, yeah. Arrival's real good too.
Arrival takes that communication element of Close
Yeah.
Encounters and makes the whole focus, right? I need to revisit it, but maybe Interstellar, if it didn't get so wonky in the third act,
Yeah.
could be in that conversation.
Another really good pure sci-fi that isn't alien based or anything like that is the Andromeda Strain.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, hell, 2010.
Yeah, 2010. That does kind of start to spin outside of pure sci-fi a little
Sure.
bit, but it's still pretty rooted in
Yep.
a concept that is, I mean, it's wrong science, but the whole concept of what would happen if suddenly, you know, like in the brink of war, suddenly something celestial happens that we have to kind of share and deal with.
Yeah.
Now, anybody who knows the books knows that they instantly fuck up. And the very first thing they do is send something to Europa.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it ends disastrously. But anyway, but that's because people are idiots, but not the people in this movie.
Right.
Right.
The scientists in this movie actually give a shit to understand what they're seeing and experiencing and doing.
They're willing to meet them on their terms.
Yeah. Which you kind of have to. I mean, like, we kind of have to meet this whole world on our terms anyway. It's like if a fucking tornado comes through, it's not on our terms if we get sucked up by it necessarily, right? It is a pure, like, this is something bigger than our kind of meager existence.
Yeah. It is.
It is.
That's a good way to end, I think.
Yeah. Did we ever explain what the 3 kinds are?
No.
The 5 kinds.
Well, there's 5 kinds.
Go for it.
If you want to do it as the last thing.
Yeah, so close encounter of the first kind is actually spotting a UFO. Most everybody will have something like that happen, not realizing what they're looking at. The second kind is physical evidence. So something is left behind, or Roswell or something, a little dummy alien guy on a 90s TV show, a TV special. Third kind is the actual contact. That's what the scientists are doing. That's what they're doing. The fourth kind is what happens to Richard Dreyfuss at the end. He is essentially taken.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what's the fifth kind?
Continuing conversation with aliens.
Which is what you think is going to happen.
Next.
Yes.
That's what you hope. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's open a dialogue.
Oh, I want to mention that Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers is in this movie.
Shit, yeah, he is.
Yep.
He's going to shoot Neri, and he wants to pass it on to his friends.
Tell everyone else. He's
If
not fucking
anyone's
around.
looting around here.
I got orders to shoot.
Yep.
And Lance Hendrickson. Good old Lance Hendrickson.
He is awfully...
Clean looking.
Yeah. It's the years immediately following this are rough for old Lance. But hey, builds character, right?
Yeah.
Builds his ability to build character.
I saw Bigfoot once.
Oh, and when the guy says that, and Neri's reaction to that, he's just like, "Oh no!"
Well, yeah,
Oh, no.
it illegitimizes the whole thing.
Yeah, and the whole thing ends at that point.
Yeah.
They're not going to get any information. They're not going to convince anybody. They're all going to leave frustrated, more frustrated than they arrived.
That's yelling into the void anyway.
Sure.
Well, that guy is so patronizing too. He's like, "There's lots of things that are fun to believe in." It's like, oh,
I wish I saw it too.
yeah.
The trash heap is spoken.
It's so condescending, and it's like, dude, these are a bunch of people. Oops, shit. All in the room who are describing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And they didn't know each other before this. Like, you have to take this seriously.
You have to at least you have to at least take it as a credible thing, even if it doesn't really make sense.
Right. Well, I believe you saw something.
Yeah, that's the only time in which anybody is actually treated by the people in charge as idiots.
Right. But they're trying to cover it up, right?
Exactly.
Because they don't want to panic.
Right.
There is a really good reason for it.
Right.
But it's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that guy treats that room worse than the drunk Mexican guy who talks about the sun singing to him is treated by anybody else.
Why's it got to be drunk?
Well, I think he was drunk.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would be after the sun sang to me. I'd be like, I'm tying one on. Where's the
I
cheapest?
think he was just high on do re mi, man.
Maybe. But still, it's like they could have just said, "Oh, he's an old, wino or something,"
Yeah.
But not a single person there, because they've already seen the planes. They already know something's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's next?
Oh, we're going to Australia,
We're going
Jason.
to Australia. Yes, I've curated us a little. Is it 5 weeks?
It is.
5 weeks in Australia. We're gonna summer early in Australia. It's Australian summer.
It is. It's the end of Australian summer down there. Yeah.
But the month of March, the month of March is dedicated.
Stupid Smarch weather.
We are going to kick things off next week with arguably the best movie of the bunch.
You can argue that.
But it's going to be a little foray into the Australian New Wave / Ozploitation genre. And we're going to start with Wake in Fright.
I think this is a first timer for me. I think.
Definitely for me.
Yeah.
I've seen it once.
So I'm not going to argue with you about how good it is yet, but I might next week.
But it is many people.
I like the second one a lot.
Yes. Well, I think you're going to like this whole month.
I like Ozploitation.
It's going to be a very fun month, and I've curated it in chronological order. I've hit some of the big directors. A lot of the big stars of the era are in these movies.
Including a couple of American stars.
And some of the American stars, yes.
Wait, Cameron Mitchell's in one of these?
Is he?
No,
I was joking.
Oh.
There is no Cameron. But yes, it's going to be a fun week, or fun month. But we'll start next week with Wake in Fright.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So that is next Wednesday. That is Wednesday, March 1st, around 8 a.m. Eastern, or 9 a.m. Eastern, rather. You'll be able to listen to that. So that is happening then. And you can find all that. So just go to filmseizure.com.
You got it.
I got it. Also at filmseizure.com on Mondays, you can go check out Monster Mondays. This upcoming Monday, February 27th, is the conclusion of my Doctor Who Cyber Month, whatever. It's the second Doctor Cyberman stories, and it finishes up with the 8-parter, The Invasion, which also was one of the early episodes that the Brigadier was in, and it's actually the first unit story. So connects to my favorite era of Doctor Who. So anyway, so that is on Monday. All those same places. Filmseizure.com.
Yep.
You can find the rest of them there.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Mastodon, all those places too. So all those places are linked at filmseizure.com.
Yeah.
This upcoming Friday on my website, bmovieinema.com, I am closing out my Full Moon Fever 3 with Hideous.
Hideous.
Oh, there's an exclamation point, I think. So you got to say it like that. Hideous.
You scared me.
I know.
I'm scared.
You just looked at me.
Yep.
I didn't have to say anything. Anyway, so that will wrap up that fun movie. Fun movie with little goobers. Little goobers. The guy calls them little goobers.
Little goobers?
Little goober
Little
monsters.
goobs.
Yeah. Anyway, fun stuff comes from Charles Band. What more do you expect
Yeah.
from the guy? He likes little monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that is what's coming up. We will see you down under
Yeah.
next week, and we will talk to you then. Until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore of The First Kind.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure. Happy 250 episodes.
Beep, beep, boop, boop, boop.